My name is Frank Sharry. I'm the Executive Director of America's Voice. We're an immigration reform advocacy group based in Washington, D.C. I've been working in the immigration world for some 30 years now, and I've known about GCIR since its inception. If you're a foundation, and this is typically what I see happening in my interactions with GCIR, so they hear from people in a community that's undergoing dramatic demographic change. Immigrants from various parts of the world are moving in. The community is trying to figure out what to do. The community foundation or major philanthropies in that community want to respond to the diversification of their community and the challenges and opportunities that come with it. And they don't know what to do. They don't know how to make sense of it. They don't know what it means. They don't know what language is appropriate. They don't know what research is available. And where they go is GCIR. They go to the one-stop place that says, we speak your language, we have the information you need, we have the knowledge that can kind of create a menu of opportunities and options for you to consider. And what happens is that these folks who know that something's going on and want to figure out how to respond through their relationship with GCIR become knowledgeable advocates for a thoughtful and assertive community response that helps make it work for everybody concerned. So it's a pretty effective and crucial institution in a world that is hard to understand, complicated by the fact that it's so controversial, and by the fact that there's so many competing claims to the truth about it. And I think GCIR has really done a good job of making sure it's fact-based, making sure that it's really credible in the information it provides so that people don't feel like they're being hustled, they feel like they're being helped. The mission of America's Voice is to create the political momentum for a major overhaul of our immigration system. And we have some 38 million immigrants in the United States, and almost a third of them are here illegally, or undocumented immigrants. And this roils local communities, it's roiled our politics, it makes it harder to deal with other social policy issues, and the country's in a big struggle and debate about what to do about it. Should we try to round them up and throw them out, or make life so difficult that they leave on their own? Or should we figure out a way that they are brought into the system, can work towards citizenship, and do so in a way that we don't recreate the problem of 12 million people here illegally? We're in that second camp. We're trying to make sure that the country deals with illegal immigration in a way that makes immigrants legal, that makes immigration legal, that makes hiring legal, and that gives communities and immigrants and families a chance to make it work for all concerned, rather than to be pitted against each other in this controversial debate that, quite frankly, works for no one, especially immigrant families who are struggling just to maintain a toehold in a society that gives them economic opportunity, but not political or civil rights. America's Voice is a pretty new organization, and we've worked with GCIR more recently. But before that, I was the director of a group called the National Immigration Forum, which is one of the more, sort of prominent national organizations working on this issue. And when GCIR first started doing regional briefings, I was kind of the Washington expert that would come in and talk. Then what they realized is that as they were going to more and more cities, there were local leaders, really talented people who were able to talk about what was happening from a community perspective, and they were much better speakers. And I was like, that's great. So now I have a niche role. When they go to areas in the heartland where they're a little worried about what the reaction will be to talk about immigration, they bring in the white guy to talk in kind of soothing, moderate tones about, yes, immigration is hard, yes, it's changing your community, but whether you like it or not, the responsibility of community leaders is to try to make it work for everyone. And so I remember going into Columbus, Ohio, playing that role where they were scared that high unemployment and a lot of blue-collar workers upset, understandably, about the fact that immigrants were moving in at a time when jobs and services were scarce. Or I remember going to Georgia, where the debate has been truly incendiary, as strong groups who oppose illegal immigration have organized and made it one of the top issues in the state. And I like those opportunities, and I love working with GCIR because they bring people who are trying to figure it out, who come not with so much a bias for or against, but a bias for solutions, a bias for productive and constructive action. And those are people, I love to speak to those audiences because they're open-minded enough where you can say, look, yeah, it's controversial. Yeah, it's tough. Yeah, you'll run into resistance. You can't bring up this issue in any area of the country without running into resistance. But guess what? This is who we've been as a country. This is where we're going as a nation. And if we're going to make America work for everyone, you can't leave out a growing portion of the population just because they happen to be foreign-born or people of color or without legal status. And I love seeing the reaction of some of these heroes in local communities where the issue is very difficult politically, who say, you know, and you get it, you can see them. They've got GCIR standing by their side. They've got their own commitment to making it work. They get a little bit of information and perspective and context from some of us outsiders, and you can just see the light bulb go on that they're going to take this on and be willing to, you know, forge a path through all of the food fight that they're about to provoke by bringing up the topic. And, you know, to me, that's what makes America, you know, that's America at its best. And, you know, America is at its worst is when you just have a food fight and there's no sort of sensible adults who stand up and say, hey, wait a minute. And what GCIR tends to do is bring together the people who say, hey, wait a minute, let's make this work. Some foundations in the Twin Cities in Minnesota got interested in this effort. And through GCIR, I was invited to a couple of initial meetings of some of the foundations, and they were so fired up as a result of their relationship to GCIR that they began this major initiative to try to create a more hospitable environment for immigrants at a time when that was so contrary to what a play-it-safe set of institutions would have done. And, you know, whether it was Somalis or Hmong, Latinos who were moving in, and they leaned into the issue because they felt so supported, they had some strong leadership, they put some money and some leaders together, and they started a community-wide public education effort to create a more welcoming environment. And I just remember that thinking, oh my God, you know, in the past, without GCIR, you would have had maybe, you know, a foundation executive who was interested, tried to do some things, but because of the relationships, all the foundations came together. Because of the support, they decided to go big, and as they worked on an ongoing basis, they did something that had never been done before, and has, in fact, helped create a much more hospitable atmosphere for refugees and immigrants in the Twin Cities than would have existed had this initiative not taken place. GCIR does a great job for its primary audience, which are foundations struggling to figure out if to get involved with immigrant communities, and if so, how. So they're a one-stop resource. They can give you the research you need, they can give you the program ideas, they can connect you with people in other cities that have dealt with similar issues, they can help you with materials that will make your memos and your presentations and your board briefs better. So if you're a foundation person who wants to do this, you don't have to go anyplace other than GCIR to do what it's doing. Now, you know, it's tough. They know, we know, everyone knows that getting people to engage with immigration is hard. It's easier just to say, it's too tough, let's steer clear, or let's kind of do a little bit and play it safe. And so I think GCIR will continue to be challenged to confront and to help those who want to deal with this in a way that says, you know what? Yes, it's tough. Yes, it's hard. Yes, you're going to be criticized. Some of you are going to put your job on the line. And guess what? That's what there is to do. And that's what we have to do as an institution. That's what we have to do as a country. And challenge people, that's what you have to do as a community. They have a willing audience, but, you know, we've made a lot of progress in areas that are where there's lots of immigrants. We're now going to go into more hostile territory going forward, and I think we're going to have to really crack that open. I'm confident that they will, but that is the challenge. You know, in America, there's this, you know, sort of us versus them thing that is our worst, and then there's the us and them get together and become a better us. You know, respect our differences, but there's enough shared values and aspirations where we become better, you know, the sort of out of many one ethos of America. That's what GCIR represents, and I think they have to continue to be courageous and kind of cutting edge in challenging people to live that creed and not just talk the talk. So they have a really tough job ahead of them, but I think if they continue to get the support and have the leadership that they have now, I think they'll make a lot of progress.